shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Behave yourselves!
Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry Saravia to Movies. So, who's ready for Cliffhanger II? Well, don't all scream at once. The original Cliffhanger came out 30 years ago. Sylvester Stallone, who is going to appear in this movie and is going to start shooting this film in summer of 2024, is making, he's returning as this character, the mountain climber Gabe Walker. And the original Cliffhanger was directed by Rennie Harlan. Now, it's not a great movie. It's fairly decent. I've had certain issues with it, although it has one of the most tremendous, thrilling openings of all time. It's tragic what happens, but it's thrilling nonetheless. The rest of the picture, I don't think quite measured up to that. Although it's a decent thriller, and I enjoyed it enough. And I've seen it a couple of times. I saw it in theaters at the time. But a sequel, 30 years later, I think that was Stallone. I can understand bringing back the character of Rocky Balboa, which he has done with varying degrees of success throughout his career. The Expendables, well, I guess it was just sort of made to have sequels because of that cast. You know, Stallone, Dolph Lundgren, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, Chuck Norris, Jean-Claude Van Damme, eventually Mel Gibson in the third film, along with Harrison Ford. But it's the same thing with Rambo. You know, the original First Blood was a pretty good movie. I think in latter years, I think I would say I would rate it a lot higher than I did in the past, which I always thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. But even when after having seen that film and understanding what Stallone was after, dealing with Vietnam and all these things, coming back from the war, PTSD, the sequels just never quite did it justice. It almost feels like they were done to deliver the adrenaline pumping action that we had during the 80s, all this testosterone stuff. And now they are trying to bring that back. Again, with perhaps varying degrees of success. I mean, now we've had 4 Expendables movies. The 4th one I have not seen. If anyone out there really truly recommends seeing Expendables 4, I just may check it out and maybe review it here. But I didn't care for the Expendables movies overall. But a Cliffhanger 2, it just seems like people are just picking movies out of the hat. You know, of course, there's nothing as absurd as, let's say, you know, a Rhinestone 2. You know, Rhinestone, Sylvester Stallone with Dolly Parton, that movie. Anyway, the story of this picture is that Gabe and a high-profile client are taken hostage during an adventurous weekend trip. His daughter has to use all her climbing skills to outwit the kidnappers, triggering a battle of life and death. The director is not someone I'm familiar with. It's not Rennie Harlan. It's Jean-Francois Richet. But even reading that synopsis, obviously this is going to be about Stallone being somehow receding from the main story. Maybe not, but you know, the guy is supposedly retired and lives in a lodge. And we've had a lot of characters, now they call them legacy characters, who come back after so many years and they're retired and this and that and the other. So this is everyone from, let's say, well, Indiana Jones to Rocky to, you know, whatever. So, and I'm not even going to say, do we need a Cliffhanger 2? No, we don't. So it's a money-making decision. And maybe they feel there's a story that needs to be told. The first movie didn't have a whole lot of story. If you remember, John Lithgow was the villain. They're traveling in this plane, and I think it crashes, and their money falls out, and it's a situation of finding the money in these in the snowy landscape of, I don't remember if it was set in the Rockies. I can't remember which mountain range. It's been a little while since I've seen it, so I'm not going to say that. After 30 years, I remember all the little details, having seen it a couple of times since 1993. But Stallone is inadvertently, or let's just say he's not inadvertently, he's forced to go find that money because he has the ability to climb mountains and everything else. And that's the story of the movie. But there's nothing there that warrants a sequel, let's put it that way. Nothing. Other than just taking the same premise and repeating it. The difference with, let's say, Die Hard 2, for example, speaking of 80s, 90s type testosterone movies, of which Die Hard is not necessarily a testosterone picture, because Bruce Willis didn't fit the Stallone, Schwarzenegger type. He's looks normal. But the difference is that Die Hard 2, instead of being in yet another tower and Bruce Willis has to deal with these criminals, he's at an airport. And although it's not claustrophobic like the first film, they found a way to still deal with the same situation but in a different way. Here, I just feel, reading this, that this is exactly the same movie as the first, unless they find a whole new spin, and I don't know what that spin would be. I think if you chose a different location, but I just can't imagine making a sequel to this movie. So I don't know. What do the rest of you out there think? Do you think Cliffhanger warrants a sequel? And again, leaving aside money, because I've heard those responses before. I'm just talking about, does it feel like a legitimate movie that needed a sequel after 30 years, when presumably nobody thought about doing a sequel this time, as far as I know. Let me your thoughts. Please tell me what you think. Thank you for new subscribers out there. And if you are a subscriber, and please hit the notification bell for future uploads. And if you aren't a subscriber, please subscribe to my channel. I have lots of film reviews in here and fan-made trailers and a whole bunch of stuff. And I'll be doing shortly at some point a new introduction video to my channel. And within, hopefully, the next couple of days, I will talk about Die Hard as a Christmas movie and perhaps review a Christmas movie just in time for Christmas. We'll see. I hope so. So, that's all I got to say about that. Let me your thoughts. Cliffhanger 2, yes or no? Let me know what you think. And this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.